Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something really important, motorcycle safety, and the part we all play in it every time we get on the road.
To really get this, we have to start with a concept that's at the very heart of the rider's experience. It's this idea of the invisible rider, and this quote, well, it captures the challenge perfectly. So here's our game plan. We'll start by unpacking that idea of being invisible, then we'll look at the hard numbers, pinpoint the real danger zones, and finally talk about what both riders and drivers can do to make things safer for everyone.
Okay, so what is this phenomenon? I mean, how is it possible that a motorcycle can feel like it's invisible, even when it's right there in plain sight? What's going on with this perception gap?
Well, it's actually a known phenomenon called motorcycle blindness. And here's the thing. This isn't about people being bad drivers or not caring. It's about how our brains are wired. We're trained to scan for big threats, cars, trucks, and sometimes our brain literally filters out the smaller shape of a motorcycle. It just doesn't register.
So that's the why. But what does it actually mean out on the road? You know, when we look at the actual data, things get pretty serious. It paints a very clear picture of just how vulnerable riders are.
Get this, almost a quarter of all traffic deaths worldwide are motorcyclists. A quarter! That's just a huge number, especially when you think about how few motorcycles are on the road compared to cars.
And if you want to know what that means for an individual rider, the World Health Organization has a stat that'll stop you in your tracks. A rider is 28 times, 28, more likely to die in a crash than someone buckled up in a car.
So why? Why is the risk so much higher? Honestly, it's just straight up physics. You don't have a steel cage around you, there are no airbags, no seatbelts, it's just you.
And right here in the US, this chart tells the whole story. Motorcycles, just 3% of the vehicles out there, but they account for 14% of the fatalities. That gap, that's the whole problem right there. Okay, so we know it's risky, the numbers don't lie, but where? Where do these dangerous situations actually happen most often? Let's zero in on that.
Yeah, let's ask that exact question. What are the absolute hotspots for accidents involving motorcycles? Where do we all need to be on the highest alert?
Well, the data is pretty clear on this. There are a few key danger zones, but one place stands out above all the rest. Intersections. That's ground zero for motorcycle blindness. After that, you've got busy city streets and high-speed highways.
In this table, this is super interesting because it shows us how these accidents happen. Look at that top one, left turns. That is the classic motorcycle blindness scenario. A driver looks, their brain just doesn't register the bike or its speed, and they turn. It's a pattern we see over and over and over again in these other situations too.
All right, with all these dangers out there, it might feel like riders are just helpless, but they're absolutely not. In fact, there's a whole toolkit they can use to grab some of that control back. It really comes down to three big things. First, your gear. Think of it as your own personal suit of armor. Second, how you ride. You basically have to assume no one can see you. And third, your bike itself, making sure it's ready to go every single time, like a pilot's pre-flight check. And just to show you how much of a difference that gear makes, let's talk about the helmet. Just wearing one cuts your risk of death by 37%, and your risk of a serious head injury by a whopping 69%. It is, hands down, the most critical piece of equipment a rider has.
But look, this can't all be on the rider's shoulders. Safety is a two-way street. So now let's flip the script and talk about the driver's role in all this, which is absolutely critical.
And for drivers, it's not about making huge, complicated changes. It's about small habits. Instead of that quick glance at an intersection, make a conscious effort to look, then look again. That's how you train your brain to see them. Instead of following like you would another car, give them way more space, like a good 3 or 4 seconds. These little things, they save lives. It's that simple.
So when you put it all together, the rider's part, the driver's part, what are we really talking about? We're talking about something bigger. We're talking about changing the whole culture of how we use our roads.
And this right here, this sums it all up perfectly. This is not a blame game. It's not drivers versus riders. It's about creating a culture where we're all looking out for each other, where we all have mutual respect. That's how we make the road genuinely safe for everybody.
So I'll leave you with this one question to think about. The next time you get in your car or get on your bike, what's the one small thing, the one conscious change you're going to make to look out for others and help protect a rider?
Please like, subscribe, and get notified.